Hey guys, in today's video, we're going to talk about 4 drills to fix your takeaway. All right guys, let's talk about the takeaway. What I'm going to show you today in this video is 4 different drills to fix your takeaway. We did a video before on the only 2 drills you need to fix your takeaway, and I like those 2 a lot. I want to show you 4 additional drills that'll go ahead and fix the same pieces in your takeaway. So I'm going to take my setup position and we're going to go right into them. I'm going to do some explanations as we go along. So when I say fix your takeaway, what I'm referring to mostly, and the most common issue that I see, is the pattern where the club head gets inside the hands early, right? So when we get to this first parallel position in the takeaway, the club head inside of the hands early, usually combined with the hands going too far out, this sort of forearm roll piece, okay? That's the issue I want to address. Let's show you 4 different ways. I'm going to go right into them. Number 1 is more of a feel as much of it is as a drill. So here's what we're going to do. You're going to take your normal setup position like this, but instead of you having your normal grip, you're going to take both of your thumbs and you're going to have them off the grip. So if I were to stand up like this, here's my normal grip. I'm taking my right thumb and my left thumb off of the club. So when I take my normal setup position, my thumbs are off the club. Both of them are pointed straight forward away from me towards the golf ball, or away from me in this direction. Now the deal is this. What I want you to do is, from your setup position until the point you get to your right thigh, I want your thumbs to remain pointing away from you. So from setup position to your right thigh, to your hands get to your right thigh, both of my thumbs stay pointed directly across from me, okay? That's part number 1. Now, once you get to here, okay, the thumbs can't stay away from you forever, but for some of you, that would be a good feel, okay? That might be a good exaggeration. In reality, I want them away from you until your thigh, and once your hands get to your thigh, the thumbs are away from you. Now, there's gonna be a little bit of a soft hinge. There's gonna be a little bit of a hinge motion as I get into here. So now my thumbs are pointed more towards the camera. Okay, so away from me to the thigh, and then more towards the camera with the club head right in line. I'm doing that through hinge amounts. That's drill number 1, okay? Drill number 2 as we go in is sort of the same thing, just a different reference point, okay? So if I take my normal setup position, you'll notice the inside part of my elbows here, my forearms, is pointed directly across from me, away from me, or at the golf ball. And this would be the same feel. If I take my normal setup position, my inside part of my elbows are pointed this way. From here until I get to my right thigh, I want the inside part of my elbows still pointed directly away from me. And again, some of you can feel that even longer into your backswing. From your right thigh, from this position until I get to first parallel, I have to add in a little bit of wrist hinge, okay? That would be the piece. I don't want you to go from here and have no wrist hinge all the way to there. It's only these 2 drills are just to here with basically no hinge, and then from there up to here, I'm gonna start adding in that hinge. So whether you use your thumbs or you use your elbows, those are 2 different drills to get away from this club head working inside. I'm gonna explain a little bit more about that, and I'm gonna show you 2 additional drills. All right, so now you guys have the first 2 drills. Let me explain a little bit about why they work, what they fix, why your club head gets inside, and then I'll show you the last 2 drills here. So if I take my normal setup position here again, for you guys and girls who during the takeaway, the club head gets too far inside, right? There are 2 parts of this that would cause that. Number 1, the biggest reason why your club head gets inside is because of forearm rotation, okay? Forearm rotation meaning if I stood right in front of me and held my hands out here like I had a ball in my hands, the more I turn my arms and hands this way, so the logo of my glove goes from the target away from me, my right palm goes from the target away from me. The more I do this forearm rotation and put a club in, the more the club head goes inside. That is overwhelmingly the biggest issue as to why you go inside, like 80–90% of it. Okay, that's the first thing. So counter to that would be, right, if I just said I make a backswing, I have a lot of forearm rotation, the club goes inside. If I made a backswing and had no forearm rotation, what if I had that ball in my hands and I made a backswing, I didn't rotate my arms at all. So I let my hands move in space, right? So if I went here like this, I let my hands move back like this, but I didn't rotate my forearms at all. Well, if I do that same thing with a club in, right, like this, hands move, I'm going to say to the point where I get past my right thigh and have no forearm rotation. Now that club head stays outside my hands nicely as I go back, right? That would be sort of a one-piece takeaway, right? So forearm rotation. The second part is wrist hinge. All else equal, the less wrist hinge you have, if your wrist is unhinged, as you do your takeaway, the club head will be low and inside. When I do my takeaway position, the more wrist hinge I have, the more the club head will be high and outside. Okay, so wrist hinge and forearm rotation. One more time, if your club head goes too far inside, you either have too much forearm rotation or you don't have enough wrist hinge. Okay, if you watch golfers who set up with no hinge at all, my left wrist is very unhinged. If I just did a little takeaway with unhinged like that, my club head would right away go too far inside unless I moved my hands way out. If I did this, where I hinged a ton right off the bat, and I came back, my club head would be way outside of my hand. So those are the main two pieces. These are drills to get you guys feels to fix those, but at the end of the day, that's what causes it. You have to fix one or both of those to actually fix this. I'll show you guys the next two drills here in a second. So something I want to talk about those first two drills we did before we go into the next two drills is just a couple feels that'll be correlated with that. Now, when I'm showing you these takeaway drills, okay, I'm saying time and again, I want you to feel the thumbs, the elbows, the arms still facing this way until your right thigh. And then from there, there's a little bit of hinge with it. Two things. One, that's a literal, okay? So some of you are gonna have to feel like your elbows or thumbs stay pointed this way all the way, right? So for me, that feels like they're still pointed that way all the way until I get to first parallel. Now I am adding that little hinge in there, like I said, but I'm not just going, hey, thumbs and elbows over here to here, and then all of a sudden I'm gonna like roll again. No, I'm still going here, boom, and then I'm keeping them pointed there even up to my first parallel. So don't be afraid to exaggerate that even into the first parallel. You just have to add a little bit of hinge. That's number one. Number two is how the left arm works, okay? And I want to make sure I mention this because for me, as someone who my whole life, my kind of hands went out and arms rolled, I really feel this sensation when I'm doing these drills. So I want to make sure I communicate it because some of you, it may help as well. When you have this pattern where your hands work away from you and your arms roll, your left arm and hand are connected, right? So where my hand goes, my left arm will go as well. Meaning if my hands go out, that also means my left arm goes out. Out meaning this way, meaning off of my chest and away from me. When I do these drills, there's a distinct feel I get with it. Number one, I feel like my left arm stays a lot closer to my chest and stays a lot more in as I go back. If your hand and left arm are connected and I want your hands to work more in, your left arm must work more in, right? So I feel my left arm, my left pec here more against my chest early, okay? Left arm more in will help the hands work more and will help this pattern. I also feel with that a distinct sensation of my left elbow being more pointed down. If I have a roll pattern, when I go back, my left elbow points more out in this direction. When I go back and I do this well, my left arm feels more in. I feel like across my pec, and my elbow feels like it's pointed much more down towards the ground. So for some of you, add that in and play around with that feel as well. Left arm more in across your body, left elbow more down will help you with the club head and where it is in space. So just two little things to keep in mind as you guys go through these drills. Okay, drill number 3, I grabbed a Tour Striker Smart Ball. This ball, or there's another ball too called an impact ball. We'll put the links in the description down below. Just an object that you can use here to put between your arms. I'm going to show you in a minute. You get something like this at your local store. I like the Tour Striker, like I always say. It's got the little string around so you don't have the ball doesn't fall out. It's got the little thing around your neck. So this, that impact ball, something like that here would work fine. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to take my normal setup position and I'm going to put this ball between my elbows. Where do I put it? I like to put it just underneath my elbow. So I'm not down here by my wrists. I'm not above my elbows, okay? I'm just below my elbows. For me, that gives me a good feel with this. What am I doing with this? Well, I'm going to take my normal setup, okay? And for me, this whole, this is 3 different ways basically to do the same thing. You're going to hear me say an object being pointed away from me here, right? So I set it up where the Tour Striker logo is pointed directly away from me. And when I do my backswing, I'm going to keep that Tour Striker logo pointed away from me until where? Okay, you guessed it, until my hands get even with my right thigh. At that point, I'm still feeling like that's pointed away from me, but I'm going to add a little bit of a soft hinge from there until first parallel. So a different way to do the same things. Why use the ball? Why not just use the thumb and the elbows? Well, I also see a correlation with the club head rolling inside and that issue with a lot of times the elbows separating to do so. So if I took my normal setup position and my elbows are a certain distance apart, the sort of dumbed down theme here, right, that you'd be thinking is that distance of my elbows would remain the same until I got to my right thigh and even until I got to first parallel. If I really bent my right arm excessively, that pattern plays in along with the club head being too far inside. So smart ball or something like that can do the same thing. Keeping the logo of the ball pointed away from you is the theme here. Okay, and for the last drill here, I'm gonna grab an alignment rod. And now this one is more so for where the club head goes in space, but it's a good feedback source. So I have an alignment rod on the ground behind the golf ball that's in line with it's the ball target line, right? So this is directly in line with my golf ball and my target, that yellow flag out there. I'm gonna take the second alignment rod and I'm gonna put it in the ground, just inside of this stick on the ground. I'm gonna put it in there and I'm gonna put it about on the same angle, I sound like it's Canadian there, on the same angle as my club, okay? So that's about the normal angle, like that. If we can get that, okay, cool. Now I put this, and we'll show you from the other side, about halfway to 3/4 of the way down the shaft, so I'll never hit it with my hands. What's the point of the stick? The point of the stick is, when I do my takeaway, the goal is to get the club head, when the club is parallel to the ground, when the shaft is parallel to the ground, this is below parallel, this is above parallel, this is parallel. When the club is parallel to the ground, if you watch really good players, and I say all the time, their club head is even with their hands from down the line, or slightly outside typically. Are some slightly inside? Yes, there are, but most of them are straight in line with the hands or slightly outside. That's the point of the stick. If you make a takeaway and you roll the hands inside early, you are already inside of this stick. This is a good drill for a lot of you for just the takeaway though, right? So when you go back, the goal would be your club head is going to kind of go back in line with this stick on the ground. So it's going kind of straight back, right? The club head. And now from here to my right thigh, it's straight back in line with that stick. From my right thigh to first parallel, it's slightly outside of that stick. This is a lot harder to mess up, I believe. So normal setup one more time. The club head is going to go in line with this alignment rod until my hands get to my right thigh. From there to first parallel, the club head works slightly outside of that stick, mainly again from wrist hinge, okay? So that's a different drill to do the same thing. Those are 4 feels. Thumbs stay away from you, right? Elbows staying away from you, ball in there for arm structure, or these sticks in for the club head. If you combine this with the other video we did, the only 2 takeaway drills, I have a very hard time seeing that you wouldn't fix your takeaway unless you don't give yourself enough feedback, unless you don't exaggerate enough, and unless you don't buy into doing it, because these things will work for sure. You have to pick which one works for you. You need enough feedback to know that you're doing it for sure, whether it's this or a video or whatever. Okay, so these will work. Let me know if you guys have any questions. As always, leave me a comment down below. Hey guys, if you like this video, please do me a favor and click the like button down below. Click the notification bell if you haven't already, and please subscribe if you haven't. Thank you.